Used to think that I was built to the hard metal steel. Now I understand the truth, some pain don't heal. If everything's just happy, that ain't real. That ain't real. I read everything I like 1,000 times. No more less casual, they are just some lies. One deep side and it slips away, fades away. What I try to keep, never want to stay. Run away, pushing me, pulling me. Said you wanted all of me, but what is even all of me? Suddenly, part of me, starting me. Heard the things they calling me. What the hell you want from me? Got me feeling things so unusual, and I live in more. Got me at my feelings up on this wall, and my knees is kerosene for me, chemical induced. Fantasy and fame, yet the things we choose. Show me hate, show me love, make me bulletproof. Coldest thing, no more. Run away, out of sight, don't know what I want. Wish I had a minute just to turn me off.
Hi. Okay, see, I'm always delayed getting on live because I'm listening to the music. Welcome to K-Talk on Sunday, July 26th. So sorry for the delay. Let me explain. There is a really good reason for it. Hello, everyone. Venezuela. Hello. I was running late because I was on a chapter coordinator phone call. We had about 15 folks, and it was such a wonderful conversation that I was like, telling the producer, Rachna, hello, we're running late. Tell people that we're running late. So I apologize, but we're here. Thank you. Those of you joining, hello. So tell me where you're dialing in from. Wow, Germany. That's so cool. Pennsylvania. I see Chicago, Venezuela, New York. If you guys are just joining, tell me where you're dialing in from. Would love to know. I am right now in the USA and in, where am I? Yeah, I'm in the DC area. Gosh, yes, I know where I am. But for those of you just joining, I ran late. I normally don't run late, but we had a chapter coordinator phone call, and that's actually part of my updates that I'll sharing. So I'm going to share some updates. Australia, welcome. I love Australia. Yeah, I'm going to go back next year. Just saying. Tennessee, Vegas, New York City, Toronto, Puerto Rico. Oh my goodness. I love it. New Jersey. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So lots happening. Okay, let's see updates. Gosh, I can't even, I think I shared this in my newsletter. If you saw that this summer, we're like in July, end of July. It's not going fast for me. Like, I'm like, hello, is it me or is it just really slow? And it's really odd. And every day, I'm trying to figure that out. And the reason why I'm explaining this to you, because that's impacting my mental health. Like, I'm going, is time just on a warped, slow speed? But I want to, like, it's a molasses, but I'm normally much quicker. Like, I run quickly, but I feel like I'm like running in slow motion and like maybe like this hamster on this hamster wheel. And so I'm just sharing with you my emotional state of mind. So this summer for me is dragging and not like I'm not enjoying it. It's summer. It's fun. There's fun things in summer. I'm in the USA, so lots of family about, especially locally, and that I knew all that. But I think it's also a summer of transition. So I think a lot of that transition has begun to impact me. Like, so everything in the past couple years where I was, on go, go, go. And then, when you're like, basically think of how it's like a hard example but how trauma works. When you're traumatized and going through a really traumatic time, you are in survival mode. So that cortisol, all the stuff, that stress, and then the adrenaline keeps you going. And then you come down. I don't want to say you necessarily crash. Some people do. But so I don't want to say I'm crashing, but I'm coming down from that adrenaline, and it's like not good. So I really meant it. I shared in this newsletter. I told my husband this, and I really mean it. This is like the worst summer ever. For me to say that's a big deal. It means this is the duality of life here. Here's a classic example. So many good things happening for our family, from a wedding to jobs, our kid graduating, and then a kid in internship. So many good things. There could be worse things, but emotionally, Like, and then also the transition is extremely difficult because we're kind of in limbo right now. And then I feel like I'm not even sure like what country I am in half the time. It's just really weird. Yeah. And then I'm at H Mart today, which is the local Korean store. Do you guys have H Marts where you are? Depending on, sometimes it could be called Lotte or it could be called Ranch 99 if you're in California. Anyways, I was here in H Mart and having a weird experience going, it's just weird. Like, I think this is where it's hitting me. I'm having to adjust and living in two different countries. For those of you who don't know, I want to say a little bit more time in Seoul than the USA. This year might be 50-50. Next year, probably a lot more time in Seoul because we don't have anybody graduating. And so I'm adjusting to just different cultures, which is weird because I grew up in the US, but things are very different. And then an incident happened today. I'm going to share about this. Yeah. At H Mart, where I think someone tried to steal something. And I kind of saw it in slow motion because my husband and I having to adjust means you're a little bit more vigilant here in the USA about leaving your belongings. For those of you who've been to Korea, you can leave your belongings like anywhere. And I'm not really exaggerating. I mean, you could leave your cell phone on the table and go order and come back and know it's going to be there. We kind of left a cart filled with, groceries that we purchased and then went to the bakery. But me double taking going, wait a second, this is not Korea. And so sure enough, I witnessed someone try to steal our groceries. And I think it still traumatized my husband because he wasn't there, but I saw it, but I just kind of knew what was happening. So I just maintained calmness and prevented it from happening. But I'm sharing this all with you because that is my state of mind. I'm in a limbo and struggling emotionally because I'm in a transition, but I'll get through this. And I think it's just part of what I want to say, the life cycle. You go through transitions physically too, and emotionally. And then physically, not just body wise, physically, like where you are. And so that's where I am. And so that's my update with me personally. But then, oh, here's a fun fact. We're also looking at homes because we're in between homes. And that's another thing. That's part of the transition. And the home we looked at today, my husband's like, look. This person has a Jimin bias, and cracked us up. We're in a bedroom, a girl's bedroom, and cracked up seeing BTS Jimin there and Stray Kids. I didn't want to be too nosy, but I just saw Stray Kids, obviously, and then BTS and Jimin. I thought that was really funny. But just sharing that, and it kind of just perked us up, both of us, in a home that we're probably not going to buy, but we went to look. Now let's talk about what's happening. So we ran late because we have chapters launching across the USA and Canada. And when I say chapters, these are branches of Nuna's Nuchi that we know that not everybody come to Korea. You can't come to Korea like every moment, and you can't be on a tour necessarily. So we wanted to do something, and I say we because this was a team dream for the past couple years on how to build past the Chung in Korea and the Chung here in the USA, Canada, and beyond. And when I say Chung, the Korean word for relationships, connection, belonging, affection, the affinity you feel for each other, that whether it's army to a stay to I'm drawing blanks, to K-drama fans, all of that, really building upon your own friendships and people. Some of you guys have met each other through those fandoms. So these chapter meetups are that. And so that's what I mean by a launch, meeting the first official event, but we want more. And I'm talking to a simple cafe meetup, to going to a festival together, to a concert, to the movie theater, to some people talk about, and I talk about this, volunteering together. So I envision these activities to honestly boost your well-being, to feel like you have people in your local area. Some people have shared, actually a lot of people have shared, it's hard to find like-minded folks in their areas. Like people have shared to, whether it's Massachusetts or rural parts of the Middle East, the Midwest. Oh my goodness. See, I'm all over the world. And then even the East Coast, even where I am, depending on where I am, I find it difficult too. And this is a big part of my work. So I know it's so important for our well-being to connect. So this is about depth, building out your local community so you don't have to travel too far, but also across the country, for now, USA and Canada. But yes, we're hoping for, I guess, New Zealand and Australia are next, honestly, because there's a big population there that I know. And so these are QR codes if you want to go to any of these events. Also, the DMV, this is DC, Maryland, Virginia, which is technically my USA home base. I have not, if you want to be a chapter lead there, let me know. It cannot be me because I can't oversee everything, but I will be hosting a Baltimore meetup. Wherever you are, Natalie, like, where are you dialing in from? Tell us, and we'll try to connect you. That is our goal, and we're working on that through a platform that we're working on at Nunazunchi to connect everybody. The Baltimore Magic Shop is hosted by me on day 2 of the BTS tour, which I'm attending both. This is basically my local area. So of course we have to, hold a meetup. So we'll be there. And normally what I try to do if I'm in town is and host it at a local mom and pop or local Korean restaurant or in K-Town to just, benefit the community, the local community there. But unfortunately in Baltimore, everyone we tried, they couldn't accommodate more than like 10 people or 15 people. So we had to go with a corporate connection friend of mine. So it's going to be at a bakery. And so I wanted to explain that because I was like, are you kidding me? In Baltimore, which is basically my home base, I cannot find someone that can accommodate a big group. And I think we'll have at least like 30 people. So join us if you're in Baltimore. That's one of our meetups. And FYI, I'm also going to hold one in Chicago. Yeah, depending on where you're from, please reach out here. I would love for folks to connect even on this YouTube live. Chicago, I'll be there the end of August for day 2 of the concert, and then literally fly to Korea. So folks, if you're going to be on my Jeju tour in September, I will tell you now, I may be a little sleep deprived because I wanted to reunite with my tour folks in Chicago, see BTS, and then fly to Korea, and then have a tour 2 days later. It's all good. I've done it before, but that's going to be what my August looks like. Knoxville, Tennessee, I see. Oh, Nova. Yes, I'm originally from Nova. I call it the DMV. Yeah, so Nova, I totally get it. Northern Virginia. But you can always come back here. But if we know people in Tennessee, I think there's other people in Tennessee. This has kind of become my mission. I love connecting people, not just people on my tours. The chapters are not just for people on the tours. Repeat, not just for people on the tours. It's for anybody in your local area that wants to connect from not just BTS, doesn't have to just be ARMY. I know tons of other K-pop fans, to K-drama fans, to C-drama fans, all of that. My hope is for you to build your own local community. And oh my gosh, I'm in Chicago for BTS. Yay. So I'll be there. Come find me. And it to honestly feel like you have belonging where you live. And I think that's really important. So that's where that came from. And that's why we decided to start these chapters. And we believe from, I want to say, I don't know, I hate saying HQ, but the Nunazunchi HQ, USA and Korea want to help the chapter. So what we'll try to do is connect you to resources. So for instance, if there's a festival that we know of, like KCON in Los Angeles, we'll try to connect you to KCON or be like, hey, there's going to be a meetup in KCON. I will be at KCON this year. And so, Toronto, Vancouver, wherever you are, Knoxville. Okay, that's my next mission. Trying to connect you guys, because that's so important for your well-being, right? And don't you want to talk about what concerts you go to, what dramas you've watched, right? That is like the fun of it. So we want that within your local community. Where there's connection, there is hope. Okay, I really love that. I'm going to tell you now, I just had a chapter coordinator meetup for those of you just joining, people who are leading my chapters, and I had to hold back tears, like not because I wanted to not cry, but everything is holding back tears. So if I start tearing up just talking about, I'll start tearing up drinking coffee. It's just everything's emotional for me. So it's just my state of mind. So for some reason, people saying who just said this quote? I'm going to pin it. Let's see if I can pin it. Okay. Where there is a connection, there is hope. That is very lovely. Thank you for sharing that. Yay, you finally got LA tickets. I know I was trying to get Baltimore day 1 and I just, anybody have Baltimore day 1? So now I have sound check. Yeah, going with somebody. So I'm super excited in Baltimore. It's so nice to meet Nuna and everyone here. Yay, thank you for being here. I'm going to get started. So that's I'm drawing a blank. Okay, tours. We have a few upcoming October tour slots. That's only a couple months, but 2027 tours. Oh my goodness. So I'm going to tell you now, our BTS tours are I don't know, way more than 50, 60% sold out already. And then dramas, maybe like a little less than that. So it's really encouraging to see. I cannot wait to see you guys in 2027. I always try to do new things. So think new sites you're seeing in the dramas, they will be there. I love recognizing, for instance, I'm watching one of the dramas with Puck and Bin, Spooky in Love. It's kind of fun. It reminds me of Master Sun, which is I prefer Master Sun, but I'm watching it and they were in Jeju in one of the episodes, and I was like, "They're Sonocom. We're staying there in about a month." So that's exciting. So when you start going on tours with me, you start recognizing places and feeling that connection. But we've launched 2027 already. Only the first half. The second half will be launched, like the fall tours we launched, I don't know, in a couple weeks. I'll ask Rachel that in a couple weeks or so, or maybe in the next week. But for now, use this QR code and a couple slots left. Okay, waitlist next week. She told me waitlist next week for the fall tours. But hope to see you, whether it's on a tour or in person, whether it's a concert or a chapter launch or wherever. And the next hope is Europe. Yeah, it's on my bucket list. I would like to go to Europe. Hello. If you're on the 28th, there may be a meetup with Nunazuchi. Yes, Barbara, if you're in Chicago, I will be there. I have to get my act together and try to figure out a place. But and reunion in May. Yay! Sign up. No pressure, but I can't wait to see you. That's good for my mental health. I basically need to go on tour. I realize that. So I cannot wait. I do miss Korea, but I also like being here in the USA for family, obviously. But I do miss Korea. Every time we watch a drama, we're like, yeah, we need to go to that cafe. We miss going to cafes. Okay, so that is going on with me. Those are the tours. Let me know if you have questions. You can always reach out to us and email us anytime. Now on to K-Drama Rex. Thank you. I was like, what are we talking about? K-Drama Rex are, okay, I just finished Agent Kim. So let me tell you about Agent Kim. Normally, I'm not into the fighting. Who watched Agent Kim Reactivated? Kim Bujang in Korean? Yeah, it has Soju Sub. So honestly, he's my number one. He always has been. So I knew I was going to watch it. I have watched all his stuff, even the stuff I didn't like that revenge one. The reason why I got through Agent Kim was I tend to look at the context of the story. I didn't like all the fighting. There's a lot of blood and all the, not gore, like fighting, when you're fighting people. Some of it's hard to watch when they're fighting each other and there's blood, right? But the overall premise is not revenge. It is a father, a widower, basically trying to save his daughter. So that is why I want to say I tolerated the fighting, because the underlying story was about a father, not a top secret agent, which he was. And, all this North Korea, South Korea stuff, that was part of the plot. None of that it was really about him trying to save his daughter and then also doing everything to protect her. So that heartwarmingness, and then the bromance, they fought together, and there's a lot of things I liked. It went by pretty quickly, but I enjoyed it a lot. And so I do recommend it. But the fighting is where I'm kind of like, I 50% recommend it, because I'm not going to always say, hey, watch this and watch the fighting. Watch it. Think of the story. Think of Soji Sub. Think of the bromance with the fellow actors. And it did phenomenal in Korean. My English is not any better. It is doing really well in Korea because people like that. And it's also the chemistry of the actors, and people like the fighting and all the stuff. And I think people like the front premise. But when I see people say it's revenge, it is not revenge. Be very clear. Revenge is very different, right? This is like someone trying to get somebody. This is about avenging who's hurting his daughter, but also it's really about saving his daughter. So think of a Korean version of Taken, but in 10 episodes, if you've seen 10 episodes. Yay, Michelle. I cannot wait to see you in October. I'm so excited. Yeah, countdown to my tours, which in about a month, I will be back in Korea for the fall. Okay, so that's Agent Kim. I do recommend it. Oh, Goblin Reunion. And it's interesting because most people I know love Goblin, or they call it Guardian. I don't know why they call it that. It's Goblin. But some people have said, you know what, I couldn't get through Goblin. And then I'm one of those, because I try to be very neutral. I'm like, that's okay. Like, not everybody likes every drama, right? Or even if it's this mega hit, you don't have to like it, because I've not liked some mega hits, So Goblin is one of my favorites. It's a staple on our tour. And of course, the new sites they went to is going to be on the fall tour. Hello. I was like taking notes. Okay. Where is this Young? Yeah, we're going there. So excited to explore that area on our tours this fall. And I really liked the reunion. That was a no-brainer for me to watch. I watched it twice actually. The first time with hubby and the second time by myself just to enjoy it and just kind of analyze and just I love their chemistry. And I did hear in real life that they are very close still. And I think you've heard that in interviews and you can see it. So I love that. Yeah, lovely Guardian reunion. One thing I really loved about it is actually people ask this. They talk about the MBTI, Myers-Briggs type indicator. I think that's what it's called. And it's really still really big in Korea. So if you know your MBTI, you could take it online, but they take it to a next level. So they talked about that, Kong Yu clearly being a J, just very organized type A. And I think I liked seeing them, I guess humanize is not the right word, but just they're not just actors, right? And they're not just heartthrobs. They're people. And you see them, and obviously we're seeing them on camera. So you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. But I want to say it was still genuine, and I love their camaraderie. So I do recommend. It's a very comforting watch, easy to watch, and they reminisce on the show, and you get to see the scenes and relive it, and then made me want to watch it all over again. So on episode 12 of Goblin, yeah, highly recommend. And have your tissues handy. So that's the Goblin reunion. Of course, I recommend Goblin as well. I'm sharing what I'm watching, and I'm just sharing them as Rex too. See you at work tomorrow. It's chill. Very, it's not like thrilling. It's not even action packed. It's not keeping you on the edge of your seat, but it's a very calm, not even slow burn. I just want to say it's just it's very monotone when it comes to the mood, but I really like it. I'm enjoying it because I like the actress and I love So In-guk, the main guy, and I just love learning about their industry. I thought it was like, this is interesting. You're learning about like refrigerators and engineering, that industry and just seeing them at work. So it's a lot about the work life balance, and then a relationship. So I do recommend it, and I do like the actress. But again, it's a kind of a chill drama. Don't expect these emotional roller coaster rides, but more of a very practical look at a relationship blossoming, first love, and a career and career people, and even a breakup. So even the side characters that play such an important role in these K dramas, which I really like, you also see that as well as part of this. So this is on Amazon Prime. Oh, as you can see. Okay, the next one, and I'm almost done that. I think I have like 3 episodes left. Spooky in Love, I'm just going to talk about it because I love Puck and Bin, Yang Sejong too, and I think it's a lot like Master's Son. If you've seen Master's Son, like she sees ghosts and then, or she haunts, basically she wears gloves because if she touches you, you get haunted. So it's that kind of thing. So it's a fantasy, but I'm watching because again, another easy watch. Oh, that's a good one. Filler drama. Yeah. I haven't started The Husband. I heard about it, but a good filler drama. Yeah. Just watching it to fill the time. And it's something simple and easy, which I could use right now, And so I'm recommending it because I'm watching it and I'm just starting episode 3. And I just got excited because I recognized the Jeju scenes that they were at. And I do like Park Eun-bin. I like her versatility as an actor. I just saw her in Wonderfuls. Recommend that one. And then, of course, we all know her as Attorney Woo, but she's different in this one and plays somebody different. So she is a very versatile actress. So I recommend that. Master's Son. I've seen it like 5 times, and I rewatched it recently. And actually, when I tend to be stressed, I'll just pull it up. I love that it's on Netflix, probably because of Soju Sub trending, but I do recommend it. It's a little creepy as when you see some of the ghosts, but they're not creepy ghosts. And it's about somebody who can see the ghosts, and she helps them. And those are the heartwarming stories. So I recommend that. Reborn Rookie. Yeah, I finished that. Yeah, several weeks ago. Highly recommend that. And My Dear Nemesis. Yeah, I didn't watch that one actually. With is it with Moon Ga-young? I did not see that. But there's so many. So like people think the question I get the most, they're like, oh my gosh, like you must be so busy. I'm like, yeah, I am. And they're like, yeah, so how many K-dramas a day do you watch? I'm like, what? Like I watch like 1 a week. So I don't watch as many because I don't have time, but also I guard my time and want to savor them. I'll tell you, one of the things I don't like about myself is if I cannot remember a drama. So I remember each and every one that I watched. even if I only watched it once. So that's why I like to savor them and watch it. Maybe that's why I talk about them for a living. Okay, so those are the Kate. Oh, dear dream to you. Thank you. This is why I'm a producer. I started this one. It's cute. It's what was I say? Hyori, and why am I drawing a blank? He's so cute. Hello. True Beauty. He's in a lot of things. In Sound of Magic. High school, childhood sweethearts, high school sweethearts that come back to each other. I finished the first couple episodes. I like both of them. So another filler drama as well. I guess that's the word. Simple drama to watch. It's cute. And I tend to right now gravitate to that. That's simple and easy to watch that are not roller coasters. It's so funny when people are like, how'd you get through Agent Kim? I'm like, it wasn't scary. Actually, I didn't, I think I forgot to list this one. The East Palace, Tonggung. I never would have watched it, but hubby's like, watch it. Basically, my husband has watched double more than I have because he watches the zombie and scary ones. Yeah, and I'm very picky about those. But I was like, oh, okay, so I like the actress a lot. I love her, Nam Ji Hyuk. And then yeah, I got through it. I mean, I don't even think I jumped once. It must be my emotional state of mind. I wasn't even that scared. I mean, some of them I was like, oh, but fascinating premise. It's historical, kind of like Kingdom. Kingdom was probably better as in coming to scale of a whole storyline, but that's East Palace. It is kind of scary, so it's not like I highly recommend it. Home Sisters, yeah. Just finished East Palace. Not everybody liked it. Oh, The Village Barber. That was actually one of my favorites. I highly recommend that for a variety show. Yeah. What else? I think that's it, right? Dream to You. I'm waiting for what's that one with Shin Mina and Ju Ji-hoon, the Empress? I forget the name. I'm waiting for that one. That looks to be good, and it has a stellar cast. So yes, thank you, Hwang In-yeop. Hwang In-yeop was the one in Dream to You. I'm like, all these names, but I can't wait for that one. Something Empress. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's going to come out soon in the latter half of this year, and Shin Mina plays basically the wife of the king, and I guess there's a mistress and all this stuff. So Pursuit of Jade, I did start finally. It's slow but sure for me. Yeah, I know people are kind of, yes, the remarried Empress. Thank you. I have another messenger. And we're probably like halfway through the Pursuit of Jade, which is good. It is good. So that is also something I'm watching. Thank you for that. Yes, I'm watching that. And I think that's it. Are there's more? Those are what I'm watching. Time is limited. I love to pay more attention because of reading subtitles, so I can't divide my attention. Not a complaint, but watching is a treat. Yeah, actually, watching is for my self care too. So if I'm all caught up on the current traumas, or don't, sometimes I'm like, I could watch the last episode of East Palace, for instance. Took me a few days. I'm like, no, I'm gonna rewatch Master Sun or something. So I've been rewatching that. I'll rewatch things. If it pulls up on my feed, I will rewatch that. Like Romance is a bonus book. I'm like, let me just pick episode 8 and rewatch it. So it's also good. And I've talked about this in studies to rewatch your favorite dramas. Yeah. Okay. So that's it now for the dramas. Let's talk about the deep dive today. Kokusun, what is that? Tell me what that means. Okay. Mind deep dive. Okay. I love this photo of, Yoongi, look at him. He looks like he's 12. So I maybe because his hair is like, flat and stuff. But okay, so you know what? Maybe that's what it is. I was thinking about my emotional state of mind. It's because I'm in a very clinical state. I think that's what it is. Yeah. And this is the QR code to part 1 of my reel that I finally decided to do because I was like, you know what? Should I wait till I'm done the entire book? But that might take me like 6 months. So I decided to do part 1 and part 2. Literally, I only did part 1 and part 2 of the video of 2 reels for the first, hold on, 13 pages. That's 2 reels on 13 pages. And I try to sum it up. So this live will be a little longer. Oh, from Japan. Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, gosh, if I fit in J dramas and stuff, that's like, I'll never get anything done. But thank you for sharing that. Okay. So the Mind Journal, clinical manual, not journal. Let me start by saying this because a lot of you guys commented on it. The audience for this book are people like me. They're for licensed therapists, child psychiatrists, child psychologists, clinical psychologists, music experts and autism experts, and then doctors. So it is not in English. No. Hello, if it wasn't English, I'd be getting the English. English is my first, no, I'm sorry. Actually, Korean is my first language. English is my primary language. So I would hands down get it in English, and probably I've read the whole thing already, right? But yes, thank you, Russia, for a copy. I actually have an extra copy in Korea because I'm going to give it to my one of my relatives, because they're all doctors, for them to, I'm going to make them read it actually. But yes, this is why I'm reading through the Korean. Otherwise, of course, I love this pen. Someone gave this purple fountain pen. But that is the audience. So let me talk about the MIND program as a summary. It is for children with autism, and it is much more than a music program. So yes, it is created, shaped by Min Yoon-gi and aka Augusti, aka Suga. I want to say that created because he initiated. He wanted to help specifically those children who are marginalized, and that's the best word I could think of. And he approached the lead author of this manual, and she speaks so highly of him in interviews, online, in the book. The book actually kicks off, and I guess this is the benefit of reading in Korean, in all honesty, when the foreword took me 2 weeks. I will say it's improved my Korean. And I'll read a word out loud like, "Oh, what does hidehyoga mean? What does hidehyoga?" And then my husband's like, "Oh, it means expectations." And I'm like, "Wow." Because I, of course, had the Korean English dictionary. It's not that helpful. I'll look it up going, what does this word mean? And it's in there, but it's kind of helpful. But I'm going to tell you this. This is why this is even harder. Some words cannot be translated into English. So like the word chong in Korean, like, which is affinity, affection, connection. It's not, there's no word for that in English, like one word. It could be kind of belonging, but it's not really belonging. So there are some words in this book that probably took me hunting down and asking around and translation apps to figure out what they mean in context. Here's the key: in context to a clinical manual. So the biggest joy I've had is when I started reading past the forward and into the testing. What page is that? The testing for autism. I went, wait a second. This is US and UK testing. That's when I went, wait a second. And then I realized this is grounded, and that's why I got excited. Grounded on US training tools. So they took, because obviously in some sense, Korea is behind when it comes to the field of mental health and psychology. And I knew that. And I know that when I'm there. And that's one thing I'll say, being trained in the USA, I'm like grateful for it, you know? And so I teach a lot when I'm in Korea going, no, that is not correct. But I recognize everything. So it's easier to get through the Korean. If I didn't understand like the actual clinical terms or the testing, it would be almost impossible to understand. But because this is based on everything US and everything UK, which I'm trained and I studied and am licensed in, it's actually great. Now, my specialty is not in autism. I have treated, I don't want to say, maybe 3 to 4 adults who have autism. But my specialty is in trauma, grief, and anxiety. So I did not turn to this manual to like, in some sense, treat those with autism, but I turned to it because, hello, Suga, right? And then technically this was a gift for my employee. And I was like, okay, easy reading. No, I'm kidding. And then I thought, I do want to read, but I am finding myself improving my Korean. But this manual is very clinical. So when people are like, I cannot wait to read it, good luck. Even if it's in English, it's very clinical. So if I had to read all the books behind me, almost 80% are clinical manuals from my master's program or things that I had to read for work. They are very clinical. So it's not like easy reading. And this is fun because I'm learning a lot and it's all speaking the language that I'm trained in, but it's also a little tedious. And so I have to read a page and go back and reread a page and then translate it and then reread it. It's like that. Yeah. So I wanted to share that. And then let me share a little bit about another beautiful quote. Okay. You want me to? Okay. Let me tell you this book. Okay. As an artist, they're talking about Suga, who deeply understands the power of music, Suga brought a unique sensitivity and a genuine commitment to empathizing with and taking responsibility for those who are often marginalized in society. So, children with autism is a classic example of those who are marginalized in society. And so, I love that quote. It's said early on too, and you can tell the poeticness or how poetic it is. Korean actually is very poetic, and you hear them speak. Well, if you watch K dramas or you hear BTS speaking, you hear the poeticness. Is that a word? Or just how poetic it can be. And so even as I'm reading, I am reading out loud, and then my husband's like, "Do you have to read that out loud?" But then I'll be like, "What's this word? What is this word?" And then he's like, "Program." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's so awesome!" So I'm getting to enjoy this with my husband, who doesn't understand the clinicals. He's like, "What does that mean in reference?" I go, "It means in reference to the testing." But there's beauty in this because Suga has no clinical background, obviously, but he's very interested in it, and he has such passion, and he believes that music could be such a strong and powerful dynamic pathway to helping these children communicate. So the end goal is not for them to learn music. The end goal is for them to feel connected to others, to themselves, to their families, to society, to find their own belonging. And that, I think, is very powerful. Music is just a tool. So, for instance, when I use even BTS or their lyrics or storytelling in K dramas, those are tools to help you feel better, to understand your own well being, or to understand your emotions. Same thing with this mind program manual. And then also, because I brought some of your questions here, a lot of people are like, okay, I want to use this for my kids. I read such heartwarming comments, emotional, like everything gets me emotional these days. So I'm like, oh my gosh, tearing. These comments and stories that you have shared, because this is difficult for those living with autism, those who have children or adult children or family friends with autism. It is hard. And then he and the team specifically, the focus is on those who are low on the spectrum, not HFA, which is high functioning, but low on the spectrum. So that is a very difficult population. And especially if you're a child, the communication that you do not have is what they wanted to target. So that's why it's beautiful. So they're targeting the hardest of the hardest demographic. You know what I'm talking about? And that's why music can help with that. So MIND, as you know, means music, interaction, network, diversity. And then one of the translations I did, and also the one I gave you was direct from the book, but I also love diversity being they're wanting people to respect, and this is very important as a therapist, respect the differences of each child. So their unique strengths, what they bring to the table, because I do not like it when people are like, yeah, the person's depressed. They look depressed. This is how they are. Do you know depressed people can look like the happiest people? So I love that this book pointed out that each child brings something different. They're different, even as a child with autism who's low on the spectrum. That's really important for me. I sat there going, let me stew on this. That is so important. Because when people go, yeah, the person looked depressed, I'm like, probably not. I have found the happiest people to be depressed, right? So you could have a smile on your face, which I have most of the time, and then be emotional side. You know what I mean? So that is what I also love about the book. What's hard for me to tell you is that because it's a clinical manual, it's not for the parents. Now, parents are part of the treatment, of course, but they are not training the parents to work with their child, for instance. They're going to tell the parents through feedback surveys, get parents feedback on how their child is doing, how they've improved in their communication, social skills, and behavior to incorporate the parents. But for a parent to read this, they cannot implement. And I'm saying this very firmly because you want to do it well. And when I hear people going, I want to read it, you could definitely read it if it's translated in English, or even if you get it in Korean, definitely read it. But it's not something where you can implement. Let me explain how the program works. There are 4 people involved. This is why it's even more impressive. It's not even like that in the US. You have ABA specialists or board certified people who are board certified to work with children with autism. Not everybody is necessarily licensed to be board certified working with autism. So I guess I'll share about that. A licensed professional with me took a lot of hard work. Yeah, I mean, if I had to do it again, I would do it earlier, not raising 4 kids. But licensed professional, I report to a national board. I'm licensed in 2 states. So I am at the highest level when it comes to therapy. But even with autism, you can be board certified and not be licensed, but you have a specialized training. And so I meet a lot of those people, and I've referred children to them or adults to them, because working with people with autism is not necessarily my specialty unless they come in presenting with something else. For instance, if they're coming because they're anxious and they're not coming in to talk about their autism. Does that make sense? And I see those living very well with it. They're on the high functioning scale. And so when you have a 4-member team in mind, okay, you have a lead therapist. That could be someone like me, to a child psychologist, psychiatrist, clinical psychologist, to a specialized person that's not licensed but specializes in autism. So that's what I mean by board certified. ABA means applied behavior analysis. Folks, that is specifically treatment of autism, and that's a treatment therapy. So those are people trained in that. That's the lead therapist. Then they have a co-therapist. I mean, this is like me going, oh my God, they also have a co-therapist, because we're talking about, again, children low on the spectrum. So they need like one-on-one attention. So lead co-therapist could also be someone like me, to someone also an ABA specialist. When they had the lead therapist, they emphasized that they wanted MDs, PhDs, and or those specializing in ABA. So I would probably qualify more as a co-therapist if I wanted to do this correctly in the program. Mind. And then you have a music, and it's interesting the word they use. Okay, hold on. Where am I? They don't say like songsaengnim, which means teacher. They have, okay, here it is. Hold on. No. Let me get you this. They used a very specific term. It almost meant, and I remember saying this out loud, and my husband's like, director. I'm like, okay, interesting. You know this word? Here it is. They use umakji toja. So I didn't know what that word. I was like, toja. What? Toja. So director. So they don't just mean, and I don't think they mean to say music teachers aren't good enough, but they wanted somebody who is very qualified. And I'm bringing that up because this is how good the program is. Like, I was like, wow, it's like how it translates is like director or leader, as my husband said. That's pretty impressive. And so that's the third person involved. And then they have somebody as very important, and the children. They have the children, the participants. So there's 4 people involved in this MIND program. So it's 3 experts to 1 child. Isn't that amazing? I'm going to pause so I can look at this. Okay. A lot of people mask autism or other reasons, of course. That's why I call myself Nunez Nucci. For those of you new to my community, I use my Nucci all the time when I'm like, you're not telling me something. I hear horrific stories and I'll still say, there's something else you're not telling me. So there's a lot of masking, even in a therapy session. To glean info on how to better communicate with children. Yeah, because thank you for that. That is actually the end goal. Well, actually, I'm only I want to say a little less than halfway through. And what I'm gleaning, I love that word, is that music is the way to children's hearts, and a way for the experts to connect, and a way for a parent to connect perhaps, but it's for them to communicate better, and them to even socialize and get them in some sense, not necessarily mainstreamed. And actually, again, I'm talking to you about halfway through, because I don't know in the latter half, they get to the practicality of the latter half, but really be able to see them improve in that behavior. For instance, if they're really upset, there's a case study that I read, and I thought this is super cool. By the way, you see a guitar here? So I do kind of play. I did take it out. My husband plays better than me, but they have a child that came in very upset. Now, if you're a child, even an adult can't tell. It's hard for us to communicate how we're feeling. When I say, why are you mad? They're like, it's because I'm mad. I'm like, why? So as an adult who doesn't have autism, can you imagine how a child with autism can communicate when they're very upset or even traumatized or escalated, right? So a child comes in, a little boy comes in, very upset, and the teacher doesn't say, how are you feeling? Or like, okay, tell us what's going on. Or let's play this. She's like, here you go. Gave him an instrument. Go ahead. Didn't give him any instruction. So it's like me, I'm going to grab this. Okay. Me grabbing this. I was going to try to play it for you guys, because I did grab it the other day. reading this has made me want to go. I was a concert pianist. At one point, I was a really good pianist. Yeah, but then I chose not to practice in my adulthood because my parents traumatized me. That really is. I practiced so much growing up that I had no life. So I was like, I'm not ever playing the piano, but I taught my kids, but guitar was an outlet. So I started bringing it up, and then you get calluses. It really hurts. But I was a decent guitarist. Hold on. Hold on. Let me get a pick. Do I have a pick here? And then C is this. So I remember my chords. So I started practicing. Even me expressing myself through music. Don't get us started on the BTS songs, but which we could talk about in a second. But an instrument like this, the child started playing, started feeling better. And then this is what they mean by the MIND program. The child was able to at least share a snippet and still processing of how they were feeling. And the teacher didn't push and the therapist didn't push. It was like watching them improvise. A lot of this is about improvisation. Gosh, my English. Improving how you're feeling. So think about it. You are feeling down or even happy. You play music, right? Or you play something. You start dancing or crying, or you're angry and you play something. So it's very similar to what we do in real life. That's how we're related to this. But the music itself is just a pathway. And so they're really talking the foundation. And I will share this. This is where I want to tell you guys, folks, if you want to read eventually in English. Their goal is to globalize it. So that is also why I continue, because in the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, this is because I'm also a therapist. So I like doing this for a living, reading a clinical manual for side role, not for my licensure. I already do that to keep my license active each year in 2 states. So I have to do double the amount of learning. But for me to read this on my own time, I had to really work at it. And then it's in Korean. So I started reading and got very encouraged. That's why I started talking about it online, because I was like, I don't think I know, again, I'm not an expert in autism, the depth of a program like this. I was trying to think, because I teach or I use CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. Or dialectical behavior therapy or solution focused therapy. Those are all my modalities, but all you need is one therapist, right? For the depth of this, for 3 to 1, they may have they may have centers. I know tons of centers that have one-on-one, but not 3 to 1 experts. That is what I think is super cool. And of course it's Korea. So that's when I thought, okay, well, they're overachievers. So they try to do it well. So that's what the basis of this program is. And so sorry, I'm digressing, but look at that. I brought up my guitar. By the way, yeah, it's you start bleeding with the calluses, but I do love the guitar. So I'm going to start playing that, because it's not like I have a piano, and I still haven't touched the piano in many years. That's me unpacking that. Okay, so then also I want to share, by the way, if you have any questions, let me know, because I'm trying to get through us. This is, by the way, only the first, hold on, where am I at? 64 pages I have read, and I reread because it's clinical, and I do want to grasp it well, because I could just read it lightly and go, here it is. No, I guess I'm a little bit of a overachiever too, so I want to do it well. The results so far, they have found good results. That's why they published this manual. And so they did a pilot program. Sugar was part of that pilot program. Can you imagine? You're Sugar, and then you're a child, and you're being observed. But they didn't know, right? And so they're observed by him. He was part of the pilot program. 7 children with autism and adolescents, 10 to 18. So it's not just children, but adolescents. And this is the range of abilities. This is me translating: mild to severe, fluent speakers. These are the range: moderate language to severe language, to IQ scores below 45 to 100. So they did the diversity intentionally to figure out all different ways of working with different developmental levels. But their focus is those who are low on the spectrum, who struggle more with communication. And again, I do know this because I raised 4 kids in the public school system. The programming there and what's available, some children can get overlooked. So they're in special centers, or the high function ones can be mainstreamed in. And so that also can be difficult depending on the population you're part of, where they're trying to get out those who are lost, those who are marginalized, that tend to be like, oh, we have this for you, but it's this intensity. But they're trying to add in a layer of music to, in some sense, make it less, I don't want to use tedious. My sense is more enjoyment, to find the beauty of music, which is why Suga approached them in the first place. He knew the power of music and what it's done for him, what it does for Army, what it does for his members, fellow BTS members, but he wanted to somehow help use his own talent and expertise to help others that didn't get that. And so it's not about learning music. So I wanted to be clear. They use specific tests. This is what's brilliant. The tests they use, they're like advanced tests. And I did not know that they're, of course, I just, for some reason, was this naive going, these are translated in Korean, the SCQ. I'm like, oh my goodness, I know the SCQ. These are special social communication testings or questions. I'm like, wow, they have these in all different languages. And apparently it's in other languages as well, not just Korean. So they use that for other testing. They use 3 different tests. I'm going through the clinical part. I'm trying to go to giving you an overview. Any other questions you have? Okay, so hold on, let me get to this. Also, they found that music, because children with autism are sensitive. I don't know about you, but then there's also, I'm a true extrovert, but I can get overwhelmed. I'll give you a prime example. I don't go to a lot of K-pop concerts. BTS broke that shell for me because they're on tour, but I get overwhelmed you will not see me in a merch line. You will not see me. I mean, it's hard to wait in line. I'll wait in line to get in to the concert, but I get overwhelmed by all that's happening, and I guess the activity, and then freebies I love, and interacting with people. Yes, but it's overwhelming for me. So can you imagine children with autism who have struggles communicating, what that's like for them? So they share this specifically, the examples of why touching musical instruments, from a drum to guitar to piano to whatever they have, they will pull it out. Tambourine, sorry, they mentioned the tambourine. People, instead of being unusually sensitive to pain or temperature, reactions to sounds or textures, extensive smelling or touching objects, they know all this. So they don't say, here's an instrument. They'll be like, oh, they'll like go like this, like, oh, by the way, I have a Korean melon. They'll be like, here you go. Play. They'll be like, go ahead. Oh, how are you feeling? And so that's what I'm imagining. That's me just reading a couple case studies on that. So that's super cool. I got into the symptoms. Okay. They also are very clear on who they want to be part of this program, because it could be, do you know how many people want to be part of this program? But they're very specific. For instance, symptoms, they want that you have a certain strong, a very difficult sense of communication. I'm reading all these notes. I have a lot of notes. I'm like, wow, I took a lot of notes, and have trouble speaking and sharing. And it doesn't matter the age. You could be in your adolescent age. This is like 11 to 17. Socially, intellectually struggling, regardless of the age you're in. And so they're very clear on, and they're describing symptoms of autism, but they're also very clear on how they want this program to be used. I'm going to skip a little bit because I'm like, I did a lot of notes, and some of them I'm like, what did I mean by this? Let me read some of your comments. Using music to talk to the soul of the person, maybe music being a neutral form of communication. Thank you. That's well said. It is like, I think a pathway would be the best thing to say, instead of going, how are you feeling? You seem upset. That's forcing a lot, specifically on a child with autism. They are already overwhelmed and overstimulated. And when they even touch like this, you can watch them calm down, or watch them like banging. I think one case said someone banging on something. They're like, okay, the child is upset, right? Or the child's really sad. It is a wonderful form of communication, but their end goal is they want the child to be able to communicate themselves. And they mean socially, physically present, not just through music. And so I think that's why this is so well done clinically, because that's a hard task. And when I was reading about all the people involved, and I'll tell you this, because these are Korean people, led by Koreans, they led with child psychologist, clinical psychologist, right? Behavioral therapist, that'll be me. ABA experts. They're very specific on who they want to lead the program. So when a lot of you are like, how can we implement this? You can definitely implement it. And the hope is it would be translated because their goal is to go global. Yes. Once they figure out all the programs in Korea and how that looks. By the way, this is with the Korean lens. And so I think this also makes it different and perhaps special as they're figuring things out, because we're also talking culture. Culture is very different everywhere. There's cultures in the US that are different within a family, right? So we're talking about the Korean culture where things are a little bit less said in general. So music being that pathway is even much more important because it's a very non-verbal culture. Like we don't sit there going, tell me your feelings. I do that as a therapist, but even then I ask it very differently in Korea. I'd be like, oh, like, yeah, why were you crying? Like, that's how I would ask it. Right. I lost my train of thought. Oh, so these 4 people, or the 4th being the participant, you can implement it, but you have to have a lead therapist. You have to have a co-therapist, and then you have to have a music. Well, here's a director, but I'm assuming it can be the music teacher or someone trained, and not just trained in music. I think they're very specific, someone who works with this demographic. So that's hard. That means more training will get involved here. And that's why I do believe their goal is to translate this book in the future in English, because how do you train people in other countries, right? In English, right? What else? As a teacher who's worked with many children, playing music and singing songs can so many times bring a smile or help them focus on something in a positive way. Yes. If they have sensory issues, especially sound sensitivity, so it is interesting to see how they approach that. They've talked about that. And that is why it could be literally, that's why it's silent and it's only 1 child to like 3 people. So it's not as sensitive, I believe. But again, that is, let me just show you the book. Okay, let me put this down. Oh, our very beloved Ovation guitar. Okay. Here's where I'm not at. I stopped right here. So they start on the very practical part. And I think the reason why I paused, because the theoretical part was the hardest, I think, because now it's about implementation and how they're doing it. So I would like to start that. And so I can't really answer that right now, whether or not they've only shared the case studies that they shared, and they haven't really mentioned sound sensitivity yet. It was more about their emotionality. So hopefully I'll get there. Yeah, I'm thinking this one, hapchu hamyo aragagi. Okay, see, I don't know what that means. This is the dictionary is helpful. And then, so I'll read this and going, what the heck? So I need my husband. I'll read this out loud and he'll be like, oh, this is what it means. But so I'm about to head into the clinical portion, which is all less reading and how each and every, look, they even show you the music, the musical instruments. Oh, I forgot to bring that up. Xylophone. Oh, if you're talking about sensory, xylophone, I also know that as a therapist is very good too. You know, it's like soft and you kind of have control in which like little notes you play on that. And so I will get into that soon. Hold on. I bolded stuff that I wanted to tell you. Let me know. Even their music therapy is grounded on US and UK music therapy programming. So again, that was not my specialty, but part of my learning. So it was interesting to recognize that. More than, yeah, that's why it's probably not translated. It's very difficult. I wrote a book on K-dramas, and I have so many people interested in translating, but I use clinical terms. So they're like, huh, do you know what I mean? It's very nuanced. That's the word I want to use. Very nuanced. Korean culture nuanced. Clinical children with autism nuanced, and then each person having their own role, very nuanced, right? And they're very clear about the boundaries. This is what the lead therapist does. This is what the co-therapist does. This is what the music teacher does. And then the participant. Okay, I want to share about this. Mind is music. I is interaction. So you already get that. N being the network, and then D being the diversity. The network part is really important. They want children, and it's kind of like I do with my tours or this community or army or fandoms, is building those relationships and connecting, because children with autism, it's difficult to connect and make friends. And so that is also another thing they're pointing out, building those relationships through these musical experiences and you may not, and those powerful experiences, you don't have to sit there speaking. It could be very powerful with you just going, look, we're playing this guitar together. And then the look, that's a way of connecting too. And that's what I'm sensing. Yeah. I hope I'm explaining it because like I just read, you know how many pages I have? 33 pages of only like chapter one. Yeah. Even though I've read past that because it's very difficult. No, it's really good for me too. It's improving my Korean. And oh, they also are very specific in how they arrange the kids. They don't just have one child here and you're part of this session. They arrange them by their ability too. So that is another thing I want to point out. They take time to assess the child so the child is not overwhelmed in like a session playing advanced instruments. If the child has some what's it word experience with it, they will encourage that experience in that experience session. So for instance, I'll read it to you. One child playing very confidently improvising on the clarinet, and then another one playing on the saxophone, and another one saying feeling discouraged because they can't play either. They look at that and then they don't go, you don't belong here. They're like, okay. And they don't necessarily push that person to learn an instrument. This is what they say. Oh my goodness. I actually almost teared with this. Guess what other instrument? Here's a test. What other instrument is encouraged when the child sits there going, I can't grab a guitar, I can't grab a clarinet or a saxophone? What other instrument do they share? Can you guys answer this? Da, na, 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 na. What's another instrument you can use in music to express yourself? I'll just wait because I want you to think. I have a reason for this. My producer answered it. If you're trying to get them to communicate, speaking alternate, they need people to communicate this. So time spent working with the family and the general public is vital. Yes, I think that's totally correct. Yeah, working with it is important. Yes, thank you. The voice. Sometimes I read this going, duh, that's so duh, because I'd be like, what else? What other instrument? Voice. Yeah, no, not bells, the voice. That was great. In a case study, they go, oh, none of these instruments, and you feel discouraged. You have one instrument on you that you can use. It's your voice. Yeah, cowbell. Oh yeah, I think they have all that. Tapping is good. Yeah, that's a good one. That's actually good for self-soothing. But no, they meant your voice. So then some of these kids sing. Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting excited. Like I'm part of it. But it's a very clinical program. Yeah. And so I thought that was super excited and that they use that in a case study. They're like, use your voice. And then the child went, because again, she felt like she couldn't touch an instrument or just didn't feel comfortable. And so she sat there and she was I think she was maybe in tears. And they go, you could use your one instrument that you're not using. I'm like reading that. That's literally how it was written, going, don't you have an instrument that you could use on you? And they were like, your voice. And then she smiled and she started singing. Yeah. And so she joined. A lot of this is all improv. They're not sitting there going, here, learn, I don't know. I'm thinking Adidang or Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's not that. They are improvising. They're playing whatever. Yeah. I know some people who can communicate through humming. So that's an example. The first emotions that they learned, joy. By the way, I love that they led with happy. Then the second emotion they learned was sadness. And then the third emotion they learned, which totally makes sense, is anger. So think of your own life. Emotions that come up from happy, go lucky to, whether cheerful to sad, depressed, or melancholy. I'm like a mix of all three. Not so much angry these days, but anger is these are these basic emotions, but those are the ones that they are first learning about. And then they write about them. So now I'm going to the practical part that I wrote. Their journal entries become song lyrics. They become song lyrics, folks. And actually, I have homework for you guys. I'm almost done. I promise. I just wanted to walk you through it. And then they perform. Do you remember when the Mind program had a concert at the end of last year? Did anybody else want to go? I was like, I want to go. I know somebody who attended that concert as like an audience member. And she was blown away, and no, Yoongi was not there. But that's like the end all. But again, no pressure. But the reason why performances are important, and they say this too, and I also know this, it's a culmination of what you worked hard for, right? So they do eventually learn something, but it's about improvising. And actually, I'm not at the point whether they learn a song. From what I know right now, it's about improvising. So I'm not sure how that, but she was like, it's so beautiful. People were crying, and that's the culmination of showing off. And if you're talking about the public, being able to show that to the public again for these children, performing is a part of communication, right? Singing and using your voice, using an instrument, part of that communication. But their key is they wanted these children to communicate with each other, to others, to their family members. And again, they're still in their center the Yoongi Treatment Center that they just created is just beginning, just last year, right? So I'm just sharing the book. So even though people may be frustrated that it's not available, just wait, because I believe it is, because that's their goal. That was early on their goal. They wanted this to go global. Okay, public performance. And then I'm going to say one more thing. I had it bolded. There was another beautiful quote. Any questions from the crew? I'm hoping I could do a good job here, because I will try to do part 3 the best I can. This is where I have to sit and go, what part can I talk about? Because there's so much. You guys know the hormones released when it comes to music. This is part of the book clinically. Oxytocin. I also say that's also part of the fandom. The bonding hormone, the love bonding hormone. Well, that gets released when you're playing music or when you're listening to music or singing music. You guys know. Yeah, I don't have to say that. That's clear. Go to a concert and experience that. Go to any army event or fandom and feel it. Or go speak to somebody about music and listen to it together. Oxytocin, endorphins. These are the happy hormones, by the way. So endorphins are released when you're exercising, but that's also you're doing something, right? That's a typical happy hormone. And then anything else related to social connection. I wrote other hormones related to social connection. Maybe I didn't translate the rest, or maybe it wasn't there. So I wrote that. Sometimes I write, I'm like, what am I saying? They're looking to improve. I'm going to end with this. They want and they believe music to decrease anxiety. You guys know this, stress, but increase motivation, like in your life, right? When you're feeling depressed and stressed, like the last thing you want is you don't feel motivated, but music can help you through that. So they believe that too. Increase your motivation, improve belonging or improve participation. It says participation here, but my understanding is belonging, a sense of having your own community. That's what they believe music to do, or they expect music to do that. I love this. Build self-confidence. Yeah. And so I'm sharing this with you to think about our own lives and how we can use music in our own lives to build our own self-confidence. And then last, create opportunities for positive peer recognition. So that's part of ABA, positive reinforcement. You know this. If you're a parent, you have taught your child, hey, good job. I do this all the time. Thanks for loading the dishwasher. Yeah, that's my older kids, right? Thank you so much. That's me to reinforce their positive behavior instead of you never load the dishwasher. That's not the way to do it. It's more like, thank you so much. You loaded the dishwasher for once in like 3 years, right? But their thing is also seeing children reinforcing that positivity with each other. I think that's so beautiful too, right? And don't you love when you get these, and the word they use is compliment in Korean. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Complimenting in Korean, that was written in here. That is written in here. How important that is for not just saying to a child from a therapist, good job, but from peers, children to say it, children with autism to say it to each other. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so the biggest takeaway for now is that music and how they're trying to use it, as Suga believes, is a powerful dynamic in one's life to feel a community, to experience a community, to have belonging, to feel better about yourself, and to also communicate. So it depends on, we're talking about children with autism, but in our own lives, this is how I'm going to conclude for the sake of time. And then now I got to tell you now, you do know I live on Korea time half the time. So yeah, it's 10:30 in the morning over there, which means I will have to start working on Korea time. But it's a beautiful thing when you feel connected and you feel like You have music to do that. Remember the quote I shared? And I did not write this in here. I translated it in here. I have lots of notes. They say music is a universal language, opening, and the literal term they use here is like mun, so door, opening the doors to your heart and mind. By the way, it says malm. Okay, let me share this word. Malm means heart, but it also means mind. So I this is where I get frustrated with translation apps. I decided to see how it translated. I was like, they just said heart. They put mom, which a lot of people use mom as heart, but it also means your mind. So I added the mind in there. So that's my interpretation because that's what it is. Heart and mind. They're all connected. So universal music being a universal language, opening the door to your heart and mind, or opening the door, opening the doors to your heart and mind where words alone cannot reach, or words alone can fail you. That's another interpretation. So there's many. That's why interpreting and translating is difficult. But I wanted to leave you with that. Your heart and mind are connected, and so for them, children with autism, we're talking neurodiverse. So we're talking the brain, right? So that's why it's super important. I'm really surprised the fact that here's my note. I'm really surprised that it's called mind and none of the translation apps translated to mind. Yeah, they translate it to heart, which is the heart of things. But this is where it begins. Hello, your brain. And this is I want to say the field of psychology began in the field of neurology, the brain, the study of the brain. I talk about this all the time. That's part of the stigma, right? It's not just emotions. A lot of this is here and what controls this to control everything else. Can we have the QR code again for the Chicago meetup? Oh, I don't have that yet because I don't have a venue. Don't worry, just follow my story online for the Chicago meetup, which is the end of August. Just follow my story online. But Rachna, you can put that back up there. That's a chapter. Oh, sorry, one more thing. It's hard for adults to do this, and Koreans are very good about this. They emphasize waiting, being patient, taking turns, right? That was like in bold. That is one of the ground rules. Oh, I should read you some of the ground rules. That's another thing. When I was saying, what's kuchik? Kuchik? My husband's like, standards. And I'm like, ground rules, right? They write this down. They're very specific on, you will sit down, right? And you will wait your turn. And I know that sounds so basic, but that's a social skill. And with those who are low on the spectrum, that's very difficult. They don't grasp that, right? So they emphasize everybody waiting their turn, cooperating, and completing a task. And I'm trying to figure out what that task is. And then obviously conversation skills. So that is all part of their ground rules. Oh, sorry. And understanding their emotions. How can I forget that? Understanding their emotions. Do you know why I'm also sharing this with you? Those are basic life skills. So they want them to have life skills. Executive functioning is what we call it clinically. Having those executive functioning skills. Well, as adults, we need to. Do you know how hard it is for us to wait in line, cooperate, finish tasks, understand our emotions? Do you know how many times I teach emotion one-on-one? I'm like, what are you feeling? They're like, I'm just mad. I'm like, but why are you mad? Describe that anger. What's making you mad? I mean, that's literally the questions I ask. And I kid you not, there are times when I'm like, so you're not mad, you know? And I'm not trying to make anybody second guess their emotions, but you got to understand your emotions. That is a concept of mindfulness. What are you feeling and why? But never ask the question, no, why are you feeling that way, as in what made you feel that way, but not questioning whether it's okay to feel that. And that's part of the mind, obviously, but that's also the core of mental health. Don't question how you're feeling. You are feeling, if a child is feeling joyful, you're feeling joyful. If you're feeling sad, you're feeling sad. If you're angry, you're angry. And then the question is, what do you do about that, right? You know what? Don't say this would have been so great. Let's hope that it's going to come to you. I'll do my best to translate. I was thinking there ain't no way I could translate this like well. So I'm just doing the best I can. And even though I'm just telling you, those translation tools out there can't do it. So one of these days, expert clinical people in English, maybe I can help a little bit in translating some of the clinical terms, but it's not easy because I just told you there's some words that they leave out, like mind, mom. And one more thing. I think that's it. Okay, I was just checking to see because I have so much to share. So that's only part one I haven't even gotten to the practicality, and I'm saying this very clearly. I am a licensed professional that does not specialize with children with autism. So I'm reading this more to understand, and I really meant it when I said I'm super impressed. But I think Koreans do that very well. That's why they were very specific on who is the leader. I cracked up. I'm like, Koreans are so about credentials. I thought that was so funny. They're like, you must be MD, PhD, that kind of thing to lead it. And I cracked up going, okay, that's not me, but it's okay. I can assist. Um, they're very thorough, and we're talking about a very marginalized demographic. So the reason why I bring this up to you is I do feel for the people that want to use it. And so I'll do my best, but just understand if you're not trained, or even if you are a music teacher, just make sure you have that training if you do want to work with children with autism, because you have to do it well, right? And that's why I say to people, you don't need to go to therapy. Of course not. You can get any help or counseling, but if you're going to get diagnosed, or if there is like something clinical, when I say a long-term depression or anxiety, go to a licensed professional. So that's the same thing, right? If you're treating, especially this marginalized demographic, it's very sensitive. I'm cautious, if I diagnose ADHD. That is one of the things I diagnose, but that's not even my specialty for children. So I will refer. I can diagnose them, give them all the testing, talk to the teachers. I don't have as much time to do that, but I did that when I was working in primary care. But then I'd be like, hey, I definitely trained to work with your child, but they need specific ADHD, an ADHD therapist, or someone who could work with that specifically. So that's an example. Um, yeah, it is very impressive. So I'm going to end there. Here's your homework. Don't leave. You do have homework. Yeah, I like to give homework. Um, this is your homework, to eat Kopiko. This is how much I was like reading stuff. I need a whole bottle of this. If you don't watch K dramas, they're on all the K dramas, which is so funny. I have to add one little trivia. Do you know that Koreans really don't eat Kopiko? Yeah, I discovered that when I worked briefly at SM Entertainment under this documentary, and I cracked myself up when I go, here's some Kopiko to the people I work with. They're like, we don't do Kopiko. What? Like, what? Why are you taking that? That was so funny. I was like, oh, it's in all the K dramas. So your homework is this. So let me pull it up because I want to be very specific. I like to have my notes. But in a nutshell, you may already have a playlist. And it doesn't have to be BTS, but I made it more BTS oriented because of Suga. Is I do want you to come up with 5 songs of a specific playlist you're going to create. It's a brand new playlist. And I came up with categories. And the reason why I picked these categories is this is what I see the most. Okay, you want to write this down? I call it your well-being playlist. You may already have it, but this is a new one. 5 songs. One song that helps you love yourself. Think of that song, write this down. A song that helps you love yourself. A song that helps you feel brave or courageous. A song that brings you hope. A song that helps you feel calm. Been using that these days. Or a song that simply makes you happy or brings you joy. Okay? Love yourself. Feeling brave, courageous. Gives you hope, calms you down, and gives you or makes you feel happy. Make your own new playlist. I don't care if it's already part of another playlist. Make your own playlist. And then this is where we listen to music, whether it's driving or, working, talking to people, whatever. I want you to listen to a song is usually like 3-4 minutes. Listen to that song or songs one at a time. You don't have to play it all at once. You can, but I'm thinking 3 minutes to 4 minutes at a time to practice that mindfulness, and you will do nothing but listen to that song. So just sit there, phone off, not even watching a video. You're just listening. Your eyes can be closed. And then I do want you to journal that later, like what emotion comes up, what memory comes up, or anything that comes up for you. You'd be surprised what you'd be like listening to a song that makes you happy, and you're like, oh yeah, you know what came up was the last time I was happy, which was this time, and it was a long time ago. Actually, that was a recent case. It was a long time ago, Jeannie. And I go, why is it a long time ago? That you want to be happier much more than a long time ago, right? So journal that. So again, you're dropping everything. You're putting your phone at no multitasking. You're just listening, and you're closing your eyes. Because I say close your eyes because for me to concentrate, I tend to close my eyes because you can look everywhere. And there's no right or wrong. You're just writing down what emotions came up for me, what memories, What surprised me? That's another one. How did your body react? Like your heart racing, it slowed down. This is all part of mindfulness, and that's all part of the mind program too. So we're gonna just mimic that, and hopefully you can remember this. Very easy. It's fun, right? Making your own playlist. Oh, you're talking about, yeah, Copico. Yeah, if they're paying a lot of money there to advertise, and do that homework. Call it your own well-being playlist or homework. And then the next time we have a YouTube live, which I'll try to do soon, we'll talk about that and make it more interactive. Thanks, guys. I meant to talk much sooner, but I had lots of notes and I wanted to make sure I shared with you. Please bear with me because there's a lot to share. And then give me some patience. I'm going on vacation this week. Yay. I am bringing this. Yes, I will. But it takes me a page a day, maybe a page every 2 days. So, and I'm now getting to the practicality. So I'm going to take my time too. Okay, I hope that's a fun activity. Well, thank you. I wrote BTS, but it could be any playlist, really. But it's key is to drop everything to listen for that 3 to 4 minutes. All right, I love you guys. Chapter launches, see me in person. I will be at the next 5 cities, including New York. So I'll see you there. Come meet me or follow my story and you'll see all the events that I'm doing. You can share the playlist. You can share it with me online, DM, but it's more for you. So I will check up on you. I could say it on Instagram. I'm barely on TikTok, really. I just reshare. So you can find me on stories, message me. I do read every message, or you can email. Yeah, I say vacation loosely because there's like a strategy meeting in there too. But it's loose, and I'm with some of my bestest Korean American pals, and they'll understand when I'm like, excuse me, while I eat my melon, which I haven't eaten, by the way. This is a Korean melon. Chame. Highly recommend at your Korean grocery store. It's yellow. And then I'll be reading this. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you guys in the fall or any BTS concert. Love you. Bye.